Hey guys, Come for MC here again. Fancy new tutorial, huh? Hope you guys liked it. We're gonna go really fast today because this tutorial has a lot going on. Today we're gonna be talking about ladders and how to climb ladders with a bot. This is a continuation of our platforming essentials that we started with the ledge climbing. So the first thing we've got is our controlinator and bot with the controlinator on it, that pairing. So this controlinator is going to control that bot, and we're going to create some pretty complicated logic to make him climb this ladder. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is just copy that controlinator and bring it over here, and we're going to use a second controlinator on this ladder microchip that I've got, and this will be the basis for our controls. I just want to make sure that this one does not override the SAC bot. When we use the ladder, we're going to make it so all of the movements are going to be coming from this advanced mover. And I just have an advanced mover over here, and it's set to a speed of 3, and the acceleration and deceleration are both at 100. And the reason I use an advanced mover is because it isolates my movement to just the up and down axis for as long as I've got only one wire going to the top, which is the up-down movement. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just first set up how we know that the bot is on the ladder. Now your first indication or inclination might be to just take a thin piece of hologram material and just put it straight up and use an impact sensor. And I'd say your intuition is probably pretty good if that's what you want to do, but unfortunately it's not going to work great for this situation, well, at least not by itself, because if we think about this bot, you can see that pink outline that we've got there. That is the bot's hitbox, the detection for impact sensors. You can imagine that if he jumps into the ladder, as soon as it touches this hologram, you'll notice that he's not centered on the ladder from either side. So what we're going to do is just do a really simple variation of what you might do with this, and that's just to use two pieces of hologram as our hit detection and just use an AND gate. So when he's touching both of those pieces of hologram, you can imagine how that would have to be. The bot's got to be in between the two, and so it's only going to detect we're on the ladder when it's impacted both of those ladder or those pieces of hologram that's going to have ladder tags on them. So I'll just quickly make this blue, and we'll enter a label that says ladder, and then copy that and just change the color. So now we've got two ladder pieces of hologram, and that's going to indicate we're on the ladder itself. So like normal, we're going to use some impact sensors, make both of them include touching, require tag, both have the label ladder. The bottom one though shall be orange, and we'll just run these into an AND gate. Now when they have triggered this AND gate, that's going to enable my advanced mover, and also it's going to enable the controls from this controlinator. Now I'm not going to disable this controlinator just by virtue of it working better for something we're going to do later with the jump. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire the controls through a microchip and just enable that microchip when we're on the ladder. It's essentially the same thing as disabling controls or enabling controls when you need them, but I'm just going to wire this up, down, left stick on our controlinator here, and that's going to go through the microchip, and then we're going to run that to a direction splitter. We're going to split those signals out because we want the behavior for up to be different from the behavior for down when climbing up and down the ladder. Okay, so that's just going to be our up-down movement. Now when we press down on the ladder, I'm just going to make him slide down the ladder. So I'm just going to wire that straight through to a direction combiner. So we're going to do stuff with these signals and then combine them back again, and then wire them into the up-down input for our advanced mover. And remember, that's set to a speed of 3. So if I press down on the left stick when he's on the ladder, he's just going to go down with a speed of 3. When we go up, however, we're going to, and notice that I've wired this into a selector, a 2-port selector. Remember, the bottom input overrides the top. So when we have pressed up on the left stick, this positive direction on the direction splitter, is going to override this selector to state 2, and when we let go of up, it's going to reset it back to the first state, and that's just going to start playing a sequencer forward and then resetting when I let go. Okay, so when I bring up my sequencer that I've set up here, you'll see what I've done. I just have a sequencer set to a speed of 0.3 seconds per stripe, and then I've put 2 batteries on here. I have a little pause and then 1 battery, and then a little pause and the other battery. And I've also got some sounds on here too. This is just a metal impact sound. You could do something similar or you could do something different. Doesn't matter. And then we've wired both of our batteries to an OR gate. The reason that I didn't just shrink the sequencer and make it repeat faster is because we're going to be doing things with our hands, the Sackbot's hands later, to kind of sell the ladder climb animation. But for now, we've just got these batteries wired to an OR gate, and you can put an OR gate on a sequencer, it does work that way. And then we'll just wire this OR gate into the positive node of our direction combiner. So when you press up, he's not going to be going up all the time. He's just going to be going up while these batteries are lit up. Okay, so we have the basics here, I think. Let's just double check, of our ladder climb. So when we go on here, it activates that. Let's see if I can pull this down. It activates this advanced mover, and so the advanced mover is allowed to do its thing, which if I press down, it's just going to slide down. If I jump and I press up, it's going to move up, and you'll hear those sounds. It's going to move up kind of in a start-stop motion here, which is kind of what you get with the ladder animation. And so we've got our ladder climb, but you'll notice that when I get to the top, he kind of does this funky thing where he shoots off the top of the ladder, and then when he hits them again, he stops, and it doesn't look quite right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make him climb the ladder until he reaches a point where it says, hey, you can't climb any higher. And as you might imagine, it's going to be another piece of hologram with a tag sensor, or with a tag and impact sensor pairing, that's going to tell him, hey, stop climbing. And I'm just going to copy that tag so it has the ladder label, and our color is just changed to red now, which would indicate stop. And I'll just line that up with about the top rung there. And then we'll just, instead of wiring this positive output from our direction splitter directly into that selector, I'm just going to put an AND gate between the two. So we'll just do that. And our other condition is going to be whether or not we're at the top of that ladder. So we have red ladder, and we'll invert it. So it's going to be true until I've reached the top of that ladder, and that'll be the second condition on our AND gate. Okay, so now if we climb up the ladder, it'll climb up until it reaches the top of that, stop, and then it'll stop and it won't go any further. We can still slide down and then climb back up. But that's the basics of making the motion actually on the ladder. Now, that by itself is not very convincing. We're going to want to make it so there's, and let me just change these really quick so that we can see what's going on. If we set these to player color, neat little trick, they actually go black until they actually go really clear until there's an input that has a player color signal on it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is put another controlinator down over here, and I'm going to use this controlinator to control the bot's arms. Now I want this not to be a transmitter receiver, just regular, and we want to make sure that it does override the Sackbot. It does that by default. And the reason that I've split these into 2 batteries is that this battery will be when his right hand goes up and the left hand goes down. This one will be for when the left hand goes up and the right hand goes down. We'll just ignore that. And the way that we split those, or we combine those signals, is just by using a directional combiner. Remember, this will be for our right hand up, and so we'll make the top one be for our right hand, and that's going to be up, and we want that one to also make our left hand go down, so we'll wire into the negative for this one. So this will be, we'll just make this color green be right, can't see it, red be left hand. Okay, so just if you wanted to color coordinate that, you can. and then we just wire the opposite for the other hand. So the second battery will be left hand up, and the first battery will be, oops, no, that's not right. We want the second battery to be right hand down. Okay, so it's a little confusing, but you can play with that and you'll eventually get it working how you want. Now the way that you would make your arms move, you can think about this if you want to land off to the side to see how it works. The way you make your arms move is you hold R2 and L2, and then you kind of alternate pressing the sticks, the right and left stick up and down. So to make the left hand go up, we press the left stick up. To make the right hand go up, we press the right stick up, as long as we're both holding R2 and L2. And that's really simple to force the bot to do if we just wire this OR gate, which remember is when we're making the arms move, or when we're actually moving up. You just wire that directly into our L2 and R2. So it's going to force that bot, it's going to override that bot to be holding R2 and L2, and then we can just wire these. Remember, right hand goes to right stick, that's up down input. Left hand goes to left stick, the up down input. So now we're starting to animate our arms here, and hopefully if I drop in we can see that. So now I press up, and you'll notice, ooh, what's going on here? You'll notice here that that bot, his left hand isn't quite working right. And the reason that is because I am overriding the controls. Let me see. Something wasn't quite right with that. Just double check. Aha. So when we're on the ladder, we need to disable this controlinator. For various reasons, we don't want the player's left-right movements to be overriding that advanced mover. So we're just going to make it so while you are on the ladder, which is that AND gate there, we just eject the player, which overrides those controls. So we had a little detour there, but now our arms are working up and down like they're supposed to. And you can change the SACBot's animation type to get slightly different results. I think right now I'm using SACBot animation. I had pretty good results with some of the story character animation types. So there we've got our arms working. We've got our animation set up so that it looks like he's climbing the ladder. And it works pretty well as a ladder animation, but there's one thing we haven't really done yet, and that's handling how to get off the ladder. You can slide off the bottom and it'll disconnect. That's working fine, but let's set up some jump animations. So when he's on the ladder, if you jump to the right, he'll leave the ladder, and if you jump to the right or left, he'll leave the ladder, and also do a jump in there too. So I've set a lot of this up already. I've just got another microchip here, and I've got some little tricky thing going on here for deciding which direction he's going to jump. What I've got here is a direction splitter wired into a selector, and then those go into AND gates. What this does is it remembers if I press, so I'll just tell you what it's going to wire up to here. It's going to be the left stick. If I wire the left stick up to this, it's going to remember which direction you pressed last. So if I press the left stick to the right, it's going to light up this selector, and it's going to override this selector to its first state if it's not already there. And it's going to stay there unless I press the direction to the left stick to the left. So basically this is just going to remember which direction you pressed last. And then we're going to make it so whichever direction you pressed last and you hit the X button, it's going to jump off the ladder, and that's just going to be some sequencers with some movers. So I just turned some movers on for a few seconds. So this is going to be left-right speed is going to be to the right 5, up 10, and the other one is just going to be to the left, so that's going to be left 5, up 10, and both of them have an acceleration of 80, and I put a sound on there. You can do that if you want. So that's just going to make it so if you're pressing to the left, or if you're pressing to the right, and you eventually hit X, it's going to make him jump to the right, and likewise for the left. And we just want to make sure that we have the other inputs for this jump animation, or this jump to trigger the animation. And the way we're going to do that is to create a pulse on our controlinator here, and this is going to be for our X button. We're going to create a pulse by just wiring to a counter and then immediately resetting, and that's going to be one condition for this AND gate. The other condition is going to be we're on the ladder, and so I just take this AND gate, we're on the ladder, and that's going to wire into this AND gate, and that's going to trigger these animations. Now I've got one other thing that's wired up here. It's just a timer, a timer, not inverted, and it's already full, so its settings are half a second, and if I reset this down to 0, it's going to automatically refill. And that's what we're wanting to do, because what this is going to do is it's going to reset that advanced mover so it doesn't force us to stick to the ladder while we're jumping. And the way that I'm going to do that is to just put an additional AND gate between our being on the ladder and our advanced mover here. So I'm just going to wire that through an extra AND gate there and take this timer that we are resetting when we jump and wire that as our second condition. So as long as we're on the ladder, so let's say this lights up, it's going to satisfy the conditions for this AND gate, and it's going to turn on our advanced mover like normal. But because we threw an AND gate in the middle there, when we jump, it's going to disable that advanced mover, allowing our other movers up here, to do their thing and make the bot look like he's jumping. Okay, so we've got a lot going on there. Let's see. So now we have the bot climbing. If I hit X, it's going to remember which direction I pressed on the left stick last. So here I press the left stick to the right, and then hit X, and it's going to jump to the right. If I hit the left stick to the left and hit X, it's going to jump to the left. Now it'd be nice if we had an indication of which way it's remembered he's facing, so which way he's going to do that jump. And we can do a very similar trick and just put it right over here on our override controlinator. So here I have the exact same logic that I've copied, and then I'm just going to add a direction combiner into the mix and override this for the 6-axis control, the motion controls. And what that's going to do is it's going to control his head. So right now it's remembering I have pressed to the right last, and so his head is going to point to the right. And we just want to make sure that we take our left stick here and wire that over so we can change that. So it's going to remember if I press to the left, he's going to face his head to the left. So then if we press left, his head is going to face left. Press right, his head is going to face right. And that's a nice thing, a nice looking thing anyways when you're using SACbots, to remember which way you were going. But now it also provides a nice visual to tell us which way he's going to jump off the ladder. And so if we wanted to climb all the way to the top, it tells us to stop. Make sure we face to the right. Press X. Oops, and I guess I didn't give him enough space to clear that jump. Climb up to the top, face to the right, and jump. So we could lower that ledge so he has a little more success jumping up there. But that's the basics of ladder climbing. I mean, it's pretty complex, so I went fast through it. But when we stick to the ladder, it activates these, both of these impact sensors, which triggers this AND gate, which is the condition that tells our logic, alright, we're on the ladder. And that tells us through this AND gate here, we're not jumping, so that our advanced mover has triggered. And because we have the dampening set, or the deceleration set to 100, he doesn't fall down, he stays put. And it's allowing our controls from our controlinator here, which is our ladder controls, to split in this direction splitter. So if I press up and we're not at the top of the ladder, it's going to start this sequencer forward. And so that's going to be both our motion upward and our arm animation. If I press down on the left stick, it's just going to run straight through to this direction combiner and tell the advanced mover, hey, I need to go down. Okay, so, and then let's just real quick, when we jump, right now we are on the ladder, so the top condition on this AND gate is met. We have not pressed X yet, so once we do press X, which is, remember, coming through a pulse, you want to make sure you run that through a pulse, or else when he jumps on the ladder, if the player is still holding X, it's going to try to jump immediately back off the ladder. So that's why we put a pulse there. And then these AND conditions, it looks like our selector has remembered we have pressed left most recently, and we could see that on the bot down here. He's facing to the left, so if I jump, it's going to go off to the left. Okay, so that's a lot of logic, and this is a long video, so apologies there, but this is how our ladder climbing works. So, hooray, we now have ledge climbing, we have ladder climbing. If you combine them, you can do some really nice platforming things, like what I did in the fourth wall level, which featured both of these quite heavily in their puzzle and platforming elements. Okay, so hope I didn't go way too fast for you. If you guys have questions, make sure you're following the discussion link in the description. We've got a topic up where you can ask questions that's a little more friendly and a little more quick to get results from me than posting comments here on YouTube, because I don't check this all the time. Whew, I'm out of breath. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Yeah, we made it to number 25. That's why I thought I'd make a new intro. Take care. Bye-bye.
The tutorials will unleash not only exciting tools and objects, but knowledge and the deepest secrets of the cosmos.